Hey, hello. Cleveland City Councilman Chris Harsh here, Ward 13, soon to be 4. Let's talk about the Browns. The state Republicans this week announced that they might have to slash funding for public schools because there's not enough money in Ohio. 90% of kids in Ohio go to public schools, but the Republicans in Columbus said we might have to cut spending on public schools because there's not enough money. At the exact same time, the Haslams are going down asking Mayor DeWine how much money they can get for their vanity project dome in Brook Park, which they don't like to call a dome anymore. They like to call it an enclosed stadium. I don't know which person in the marketing team told them that dome is a toxic word, but they've changed their language. Anyway, the enclosed stadium in Brook Park, the vanity project for the Haslams, is going to cost upwards of $2.4 billion, and they need you and me to pay for it because their $9 billion net worth can't cover the bill. So let's talk about the 10 reasons why this is absolutely absurd. Nobody should get behind this move. And the Browns have a perfectly good home right in downtown Cleveland. First issue, I got my little clipboard here. We're gonna run through this. Maybe I'll figure out how to do some editing and put the numbers up here as we go along. But before I even get started, what makes this also so offensive is that we're just about to pay off the stadium we built back in the 90s. We took out 30-year bonds on this, and those bonds are finished in 2028, I think, which means the stadium that we've already started and already paid for will be completely paid for, which would be a great time to realize some economic gains from that investment, wouldn't it? So, number one, if the Haslams move the team out of Cleveland to Brook Park, it will be the most expensive stadium built in the history of Ohio. Hands down, bar none. And Cleveland residents will have to pay for it. See, it doesn't matter if they get money from the city, the county, or the state. When you live in the city of Cleveland, you live in all three. You live in Cleveland, you live in Cuyahoga County, and you live in Ohio. So whether the money comes from the state house, comes from the county, or comes from the city, Cleveland residents are going to have to pay for this, whether they like it or not. And that's just kind of offensive for us to have to pay for our own economic decline. That's just kind of rude. Number two, the only people who benefit from this move is the Haslam Sports Group. That's what this is about. This is about them trying to make more money. Make no mistake about it. This is entirely about them trying to raise more money off the Browns than they currently do. We all know, football fans know, the NFL prints money. They make money hand over fist, but it's not enough for Jimmy and Dee, so they need more. So why does moving make them more money? Well, for one, they could own all the parking around a new stadium outside of the city. Currently, the parking around the downtown Brown Stadium is owned by the city, private lot owners, up and down streets. I park on Lakeside and walk down to the stadium. I park for free. A bunch of people park in Muni Lot. That's owned by the city. The Haslams want to own all the parking around the stadium because they can make an extra over $1 million per event if we all pay their parking. So keep in mind, if you're a public transportation aficionado, there is no way you're going to take the RTA down to the airport or to the Brook Park Rapid Stop and catch a ride into the stadium. They're not going to facilitate that. They don't want you taking public transportation. You're also in Brook Park not going to be able to park anywhere else and walk in. There's nowhere else to park around there. Take a look at the map, the Google map, look down. This new stadium would be in the armpit of a highway across the street from an airport with industrial land to the south and residential to the east. There is nowhere to park that you're going to be able to walk in. You're going to have to pay them, and I guarantee you they're going to charge a lot more than you're currently paying in downtown Cleveland. Lastly, the Browns are currently valued somewhere in the $3.5 billion to $4 billion range. If the Browns get a new stadium in Brook Park, an enclosed stadium, a dome, whatever, the value of the team would go up to about $7 billion. So this could almost double the value of the team, which is probably what the Haslams actually want, because then they can sell the team for twice as much and a lot more than they bought it for, which is, I think, ultimately what they're trying to do. And as much as I'd like to see them go, I would not like to see them go on the backs of taxpayers in Northeast Ohio. So, number one, this is the most expensive stadium ever. Number two, this is all about making more money for the Haslam Sports Group. Number three, reason, this is just ridiculous. The people that pay the most for this are going to be fans of the team. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, I love the Browns and I love football. And I grew up like 3 blocks from the Hall of Fame down in Canton, and football's in my blood. I've been with this team through thick and thin, and I'm partially a fan because back when I was a kid, they were really good, right? It was a fun time in the 80s. But they are going to make those of us who have stuck with this team foot the bill for this even more than taxpayers because A, they will increase parking costs. B, they are definitely going to increase season ticket prices. My tickets have gone up 25% in the last 4 years. Just for my 500 level, way up in the rafters tickets, they've gone up 25%. The survey they sent around to season ticket holders this year proposed prices of double, triple, and quadruple the current rates. And their carrot for this was that they were going to throw in some hot dogs. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But if you are a season ticket holder, get ready. They're going to keel haul you and get more money out of your pockets as much as they humanly can. Don't forget about the PSLs, personal seat license. Not only are they going to raise season ticket prices, but they're actually going to make you put down a down payment for the privilege of paying the jacked up season ticket prices. A PSL is like a down payment you put on your seat, and you don't get it until you transfer that seat to another person who pays you for the PSL. Imagine the Browns continue stinking the way they have, and you've got to try to sell a $40,000 PSL to somebody else. It's not going to be good. But that's how they're going to raise money for this. They're also probably going to raise concession prices. There's no world I can imagine where they build this whole new thing and then concession prices go down. So that was number 3. Fans are going to play the most. Number 4, the Cleveland economy will take a hit over this. There is no way on earth that you can move 600,000 people out of the downtown economic area and have more money coming into it as a result. Just think about this for a second. The Browns currently draw about 600,000 people to downtown Cleveland through games and other activities at the stadium. Those 600,000 people spend some amount of money. That some amount of money goes down when they're not there, right? The downtown neighborhood cannot redevelop the land that the stadium is on in a way that draws 600,000 people. See, the unholy alliance between the city of Cleveland and the Cleveland Browns is that we've got the only stadium big enough to hold the NFL, and the NFL is the only thing big enough to fill the stadium. That's the problem, right? So if we don't have the Browns, we've got a big old empty stadium that we got to figure out what to do with, and that's probably a $50 million demolition tab. But there's no way to replace it with something that's also going to draw that many people. All right, number 5. Moving the Browns to Brook Park is an absolute logistical nightmare. Talk about traffic for days. ODOT's not going to put any new exit ramps in. ODOT is not going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars putting in new highway ramps just to facilitate the people coming in and out. There's already an airport on the other side of the highway, so there's all that traffic. You've got a couple of main roads sort of boxing in this parcel of land that all the traffic's going to have to come in on just a handful of main roads. You think that Blossom is bad. Wait until you try to get into Jimmy's World and Brook Park on a Sunday morning when 60,000 people are not only trying to get into a game. Imagine a Monday night when people are also trying to get to the airport. It's absolute chaos. And nobody's talked about this yet. I think I heard they say they want to put it 80 feet into the ground. 80 feet, because that way they avoid the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration's overhead rules because there's an airport right there. Okay, cool. NEO-RSD, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, can build you a sewer line that pumps sewage uphill. That can be done, but that's really expensive. And the work on that needs to get started pronto. I'm not a civil engineer, but these types of projects don't happen like that. You got to get started on this stuff pretty quickly, and I'm pretty sure that the current location they're looking at does not have a sewage line capable of handling 60,000 people or 70,000 people while pumping that sewage uphill, okay? Figure that one out, because they're going to have to get started on that right away. Lastly, for the Brook Park being a logistical nightmare, last I checked, the entire city of Brook Park employs, in total, 35 police officers. 35, not 35 per shift, not 35 per day. 35 in the entire department. That's 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week. Cleveland puts something like 60 officers just on the Sunday shift for the 3rd district downtown on game days. we have way more cops and people able to handle traffic than Brook Park does. And what's going to happen, because surrounding municipalities are not going to pay their police overtime to work for the Browns, what's going to happen is the Browns are going to end up hiring some crappy rent-a-cop firm that's going to stand around in the middle of the intersection doing absolutely nothing because they can't handle the traffic to begin with, and they're not actual officers. And the logistics on this Brook Park just get worse and worse the more time you spend thinking about it. The sixth reason this is a terrible idea, number 6. There is no regional economic benefit. This has been said over and over and over again. People say, oh, we're going to get the Super Bowl. We're going to get Final Four. Listen, all that's going to happen is that you're going to draw events from downtown Cleveland that we're going to go there, like the Rolling Stones, like whatever's at Gund or whatever's at the Jake. All those events come over to here because they want to check out the shiny new thing. You're going to draw retail away from Crocker Park. You're going to create this, glut of commercial, which we already have too much of in Northeast Ohio. The commercial landscape is changing rapidly in America, and we've got a hard time leasing out our commercial space as it is. But you're going to move some economic activity from downtown and from other shopping areas to this. It's not going to grow the pie for Northeast Ohio. The only thing that grows the pie for Northeast Ohio is new residents and new jobs, and this creates neither. Number 7. This is emotional manipulation of Browns fans. This is taking a fan base that has been dragged through the mud for decades and then trying to tell them that there's hope on the other side of the hill if they'll just charge over it with you. Look, Browns fans, if this thing gets built and we get a Super Bowl, you're not going. You can't afford Super Bowl tickets. I can't afford Super Bowl tickets. The average Browns fan is not going to buy Super Bowl tickets just because the Super Bowl's in Brook Park. The tickets are astronomical. You're still not going. I don't understand why this argument is used by so many people. We'll get a Super Bowl. Great. And whatever teams play in that Super Bowl, and it probably won't be ours, fans will fly in. The wealthiest people from those metropolitan regions will fly in for a day or two, drop a handful of money in Brook Park, maybe Westlake, maybe downtown, and then they'll leave. That's the last Super Bowl we'll ever see. Won't get a second one. Maybe you can afford a Final Four ticket. I doubt it. I don't know. Maybe you're doing better than me. There's some successful people out there. But the type of activity that they're going to be able to draw to this new enclosed stadium is going to be short-lived, and it's going to be astronomically expensive. It's not something the average person is going to be able to attend. But they're trying to manipulate your emotions and saying that you can. Number 8, sports media. I love sports media. Sports are entertainment. It's our happy distraction from the troubles of our daily life. But sports media is probably the worst place to get information on this. Sports media makes money off having teams, right? They make money off having controversy surrounding those teams. They need clicks. They need callers to light up the phones. They need people engaged. And this is a very engaging conversation. This subject gets ears and it gets eyes. Sports media will want to talk about this, and they'll want to stoke the controversy because the more people are talking about this, the better it is for them. Keep in mind, sports media doesn't exist like the regular media to inform you and educate you necessarily about the issues of your community. They exist to talk about games that we love, and they do a valuable service. And I do love me some morning drive time sports. But they're not going to give you a perspective from the brass tacks view. The only people that actually have to answer to anyone on this subject are politicians and team owners, right? Because politicians are the ones that have to figure out how to work with team owners to build these things, and team owners are the ones that have to figure out how much money to invest in their teams. That's the universe of people that have to make decisions about sports teams. I'm beholden to voters. Voters in my ward do not want to spend more money on this franchise and on this billionaire owner than we already are. Whatever sports media tells you the benefits of moving the team out of Cleveland are, keep in mind that those people are not answering to voters. Number 9, Southern culture on the skids. Man, we get it. The Haslams are from Tennessee. They put 2 scoreboards up in the stadium to remind us every single day that they're from Tennessee. We get it. They're really into country music. They really want to bump a lot of country music in Cleveland. Look, I got news for you, man. Cleveland is a northern city. Ohio fought for the Union, all right? We like 2 types of music in Cleveland, universally. We like hip-hop and we like metal. And when you play hip-hop and or metal down at the stadium, we get really happy, man. We get pumped. We're ready to go. But the Haslams are doing everything they can to bring Southern culture into Cleveland, and it pisses me off. I hate modern country music. There is almost nothing worse than modern country music. And the Haslams are trying to make this stupid Lee Greenwood song the second national anthem. Look, if you stand for God Bless the USA, you are cheating on the Star-Spangled Banner. This country has one national anthem. We sing it at the beginning of the game. We all stand up. We take off our hat. Put your hand over your heart if you want to. That's the national anthem. If you stand up for God Bless the USA, you are cheating on the national anthem. Don't do it. By the way, I wouldn't be so passionate about this if not for the fact that Lee Greenwood re-records that song every couple of years so that he can continue to make royalties off of it. Yeah, it's a crappy country song from 1984 that the Haslams are just pumping money into this guy's pocket, along with every other Southern culture dominatrix that wants us all to bend to their will and sing their crappy music across all these sports venues. You know what? At least the Guthrie family had the good graces to let This Land Is Your Land go into public domain. We can sing that one for free, okay? But also, dude wipes. Jimmy Haslam wants you to wipe your ass with a baby wipe. And I don't know why. I don't know why this is so important to him. I can't go to a Browns game without having them talk about how I wipe my ass. And, you know, the team is called the Browns because of Paul Brown, because of Jim Brown. And I like to think that human beings, as a great unity project for the people of Earth, we're all shades of brown. This is a brown shade. I know, I'm white. I know the political implications of what's going on in America. But black people aren't black, they're brown. White people aren't white, we're brown. Everybody's brown. It's one of the reasons why the Browns is the most awesome branding of a sports franchise ever. It's the people's team, right? But I know there's poop jokes involved. I know. I'm 48. I've been here. You don't need to pile on with dude wipes every single time we go to the stadium. Get over it. We're not wiping our ass with baby wipes. All right? I don't know where that marketing... They just sent a push poll about that issue to season ticket holders. They just sent it out. God. Last, number 10. The 10th reason why this is a terrible idea. This has nothing to do with team performance. This has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with making the Cleveland Browns a better football team, which is all any of us really want. And let me push back a little bit on this notion that the quarterback controversy trade was evidence of the Haslam's willingness to spend on the team. The current quarterback, the Watson trade, is going to go down as the worst trade in the history of the NFL, and that's going all the way back to 1989 in the Herschel Walker trade, which for decades has been the worst trade in the history of the NFL. They thought for a minute Russ going to Denver was going to maybe eclipse that. No, not at all. Herschel Walker still stands as the worst, and I think we're going to climb that Mount Rushmore, and we're going to top it, and we're going to go down for that history. Keep in mind, the Haslams are the same ownership group that gave you 1-15 and followed it up with 0-16, and the 0-16 parade was probably the highlight of those 2 years. Fans know how to have fun. We know how to embrace reality and deal with it. But the other thing is, the best game this season, without exception, was the Snow Globe game. Beating Pittsburgh at home in the snow was the most fun I had this year. And they want to take that away from us. They want to take away the joy of being a fan. They want to take away the fun of living in Cleveland, and they want to turn us into some kind of like replicator, cookie cutter, Southern culture product that they can then turn around and sell to one of their other buddies for twice as much money as they bought it for. It took them like 4 years to figure out that the dog pound is only one end of the stadium. They had originally wrapped the entire stadium in this stupid cartoonish dog pound thing that made it look like we belonged on the Looney Tunes. And it took them like 3 years to figure that out and put the dog pound back at the East End where it belongs. So, look, last thing. I hear people all the time say, it wouldn't be such a problem if the current stadium weren't built so quickly, so hastily. Everybody's uncle worked on it, right? And said it was built like a piece of crap. I don't know when workers stopped taking pride in their work, but let's clear the air. The stadium was built by a company that builds stadiums as a profession. It's what they do. They build stadiums. This wasn't their first stadium. It hasn't been their last. Building stadiums is what they do. It is built down into the bedrock, into the pylons. People talk about the trash dump. It's funny, you can do everything on Burke you want until you do something you don't want to do, then you can't do it at all, right? It is a solid structure. They say it was hastily built in 3 years because we were hurrying up in time for the Browns. Now they want to hastily build a dome in Brook Park in 3 years. The current stadium is great. It's well built. The city of Cleveland has done a remarkable job taking care of it. It's solid as hell. I went down there every single game this year. It's in good shape. I get there early and walk around. We have a functioning stadium. It's fine. We can just stay there. And instead of focusing on how much money we can make the Haslams or how much we need to cut state funding for public schools, maybe we could just realize the fruits of our labor and make a little money off the stadium that we already paid for. That seems to be the prudent thing to do. Okay? I'll probably leave comments open, say what you want, but thanks for your time. Progress and prosperity.